The Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast is dedicated to all things Horus Heresy. This podcast delves into the grimdark universe where Primarchs clash, legions rise, and loyalties fracture faster than a Land Raider's track. But it's not just about the lore of the Horus Heresy. The Accountabilibuddies also explore the gaming side of things, from painting and modeling tips to product reviews and ideas to help you in your hobby. So, whether you're a seasoned Forge World veteran or a fresh-faced scout, this podcast is your Vox channel to the galaxy. Expect discussions on lore, modeling, gaming, and maybe even the shenanigans that your hosts somehow seem to find their way into. Remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there are only two things you can count on: heresy and your trusty Accountabilibuddies.
Hello and welcome to the 106th episode of the Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast. My name is John, and tonight I'm joined by
Duncan.
Jack.
Oh my God. We'll get it right one of these episodes, folks, I swear. Before we go on to news and hobby updates, let's go ahead and pause for discussions with some of our sponsors and remember all of our awesome patrons.
Do you love resin bases? Then go to our sponsor Elric Hobbies for all of your basing and basing accessory needs. Use code HeresyABB at checkout for a discount. Legendary Monument Hobbies. Monument Hobbies is a one-stop shop for all of your painting needs. Use code HeresyABB at checkout for a 5% discount on your purchase. Pop Goes the Monkey. Find maker of third-party accessory bits of arms, legs, backpacks, and more, where you can get 10% off your first order over $125 with code HeresyABB at checkout.
And a quick thank you to all of our patrons this year. This week we finished up our Secret Santa gift exchange. We invited all of our patrons to join us, and we had about 5 of them join us along with some of the crew and some of our old hosts. It was actually a really nice night this week, so I appreciate everyone for coming in on that, and I had a blast. What about you guys?
I had fun. I had a lot of fun.
Yep, I had a lot of fun, and I'm very thankful for everybody that attended that had a good time too. So it's good seeing everybody.
Everybody kept it really easy too. Is the person running it? I appreciate when everyone can be on time. I know a couple of the patrons said like, "Oh, I feel like I'm invading." I'm like, "Nah, this is why we do it. We do it for everybody." And everyone kept on top of everything, kept it really nice and easy for me.
And also, like, because we do it with video, it's, you get to put faces with names and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
there's a lot of times we don't get to do that. So
yeah, especially because some of them don't come to a lot of the
big events and stuff.
The painting nights and stuff too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's go into hobby updates. I guess I'll kick that off. My hobby updates wasn't a ton this week. I was kind of feeling back was acting up a little bit, so I got mainly a lot of reorganizing done. With all the terrain that I've been building over the last couple of weeks, I really don't have a spot to store a lot of it, and so I decided to kind of start clearing off some of the rolling shelves that Christina had built for her office. That was just a lot of art storage and things like that I've been giving away, and so I just kind of tidied a lot of that up, and now it's holding a lot of the memorial pieces that I've built. Right now I'm at about 7 tiles for the memorial garden. It's coming together more like a ZM piece than it actually is an actual gaming table, but you could spread them out and make it a gaming table itself instead of a ZM table. I built a couple more pieces that need to get glued to squares, thanks to Dan sending me some stuff last week, and then went through and found where I kind of have started some of the city accessories that I need for the other table, and I've got those in front of me tonight. Jamie, what have you been up to?
So a lot of single parenting this week, but I've been printing a lot. Like, my printer's basically been going almost 24/7. I've had to do some, let's call it maintenance. I've had to replace a couple FEPs that I had issues with, and I'm trying to get all that stuff ready for John. And I've got the last run of stuff I needed for John on the printer right now as we're talking. So yeah, that's mainly it. I've worked a little bit on a Dreadnought, but I haven't had a ton of hobby time this week because I'm having to do so much with the kids. A lot of school stuff comes up this time of year, so. But so yeah, I mean, I'll get back in it this week. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I didn't do hobby hangout and this week, and I was on Secret Santa though, and I guess I'll pass it off to Duncan.
Well, let's see here. I worked more on World Leaders. I got all my decals down on the squad I was supposed to finish last week. I've got them sealed. I'm literally waiting to have the seal, because I got the seal done today. I'm waiting for the seal to finish curing before I apply the streaking grime, streak them up, get them all dirtied, and then let that dry, which I will be doing after we get done tonight recording. And then they will be done. And then I will move on to the next squad and the next squad, because that's literally all I'm going to have left for the guys before I turn over to tanks. But that's honestly all that I've done. Just more work dealing with that. Has anybody not gone, or is that all we have tonight?
Jack.
Oh yeah, Jack. Jack, what have you done?
I don't remember where we left off. But
Probably more
Mastodon.
Mastodon work.
I swear to God, all I'm going to say is Mastodon. We'll look back at this whole entire year as a podcast, and it'll be Jack works on a Mastodon or nothing. Mastodon, the body of it is done, inside and out. Even though John rained on my parade and said that the bunker rolls are no longer there, that made me sad. But I was already too pot committed to do it. The only thing that is left is painting the sponsons. They are base coated. I have to finish painting them and then buy more magnets for the sponsons, and then that thing can go into a piece of foam, never to be seen again. Because at this point, I'm so frustrated with this whole entire thing that if I never stick it on a table other than photos, I will strangely be okay, I think. I say that now from a deep pit of hobby funk, this from dealing with it for the better part of this year, and it has ruined my hobby mojo more than once doing stuff.
Ooh.
What turned into a labor of love turned into I have to get this done.
Feel that sometimes.
Yeah.
Been there. I think we've all been there.
Yeah, I can't think of the. No, I take it back. I think the last time I had this feeling was when I was doing a night army that has never hit the table, has never been based. Because I was at decals, weathering, and basing, and that night army is done. But that happened. I was building that during COVID, and that made it to the move when we bought a house a couple years ago. And when I finally got my hobby station set up where I could do stuff, the nights were, I have to get this done so I can get onto stuff that I can actually play with. And I got them to the point where all I had to do when I picked them back up was weathering, decals and weathering. And I have never made it that far so far. So I have like a illegal 4,000 point night army, thanks second edition, that has never seen a light of day. I got a question.
Kind of the same way on my nights. I need to add on to them, but I don't really want to work on any more of those damn bases. I made them so freaking intricate.
Thanks to my Secret Santa, I've got enough armatures to actually make a legal night list now.
I have two. I got a question for everybody that's here.
Jack, what's up?
Does anybody have an army that is finished or close to being finished that has never never hit the table. I'm not talking about like something you're currently working on. Just like something you got done at some point and it never saw the table for one reason or the other.
So my Night Lords, his only thing it's ever seen the table for was for like small scale, like 500 to maybe 750 point ZM. But I have 6,000 points of it.
I have a lot of Ultramarines that I have painted that never got to the table. A bunch of heavy weapons teams and things like that.
But
Yeah, like I have my Night Lords have got super heavies and Curs and big Primarch type stuff that like I think the only time and maybe I played in a big game or something like that with it. Yeah, I think I played a big game with it and that's it. But not small.
Whole army, no. Small bits and bits, yes,
see,
obviously.
I don't count like with John. I don't count the random Ultramarines because much like me, like got to catch them all. They're blue.
Pokemon. Oh yeah, it's the same way with me with the Dark Angels.
Yeah. I realized when I was organizing the garage a little bit the other weekend that I have 2 armies that have never hit the table. Thanks to
actually, I have a 40K army that's never hit the table before.
Oh, I'm not even counting 40K.
Yeah, I ended up selling all my 40K armies just because they hadn't hit the table in so long.
Yeah, I have a Badab Wars Space Sharks army that has never hit the table.
Cockairodons. But anyway, I was just curious because I blame hobby ADD.
Yeah,
I think we all have a significant portion of that.
Yeah, and when I say I have Ultramarine units, I mean I can probably make an army out of the stuff that I haven't fielded on the table.
Oh God!
And then there's all the stuff that I'm painting right now. I don't even want to think up the points of the stuff that I've got built right now that I'm still working on.
The number of things for Ultramarines that are done, like done, that has not seen the table, and the likelihood of them seeing the table ever more than once is this insulting, probably to people.
Oh yeah,
that's not bragging. That's this physical irresponsibility.
Yeah, my 40 suzerains are probably never going to see the table.
Yeah,
including the fact they have all the options modeled. That'll never happen.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I've got stuff that hasn't seen the table. But I'm sure that eventually some of it or most of it will end up seeing the table.
Well, I mean, like my Dark Angels, I'm like John and I guess Jack, where I'm just literally building a Pokemon list where like I've got some of everything. So that like if I want to go Raven Wing or I want to go Iron Wing or Dread Wing or whatever, I can do that, and then have kind of like a core force that goes with it.
Yep.
But like, yeah, I mean, I'm sure some of it will get played at some point. I mean, I don't think I'd ever use 11 Saber Tanks or I don't even know how many Rhinos I've got all at the same time, but it's there so that I can swap stuff out for like whatever army I'm using. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Or like play style that I'm playing. So like if I wanted to go all troops, I could easily do that, or if I wanted to go all mech, I could do that. Or if I wanted to do all scout stuff. I mean, like, yeah, but like I'm not gonna do that with all my armies. That's just like my Dark Angels. Whereas like Night Lords, I'll cater it down to I'll pare it down to like 1 or 2 different types of play style to use it with. And then, whatever I do next, be it Knights, Alpha Legion, something else, it'll be more tailored, just mainly with that stuff, mainly because of space limitations, like storing it. My wife was like, you got to get all that stuff out in the shed. And once it gets out in the shed, it doesn't get pulled out very often.
Jamie, have you found 3D printers making your hobby easier or harder? Do I need to quantify that?
Sure, qualify it.
By that, I mean it opens the window so wide that is why it's not hobby paralysis because you're still doing stuff. It's like overwhelmed by.
Well, it's a whole other hobby.
Yeah, well, not only a whole other hobby, but overwhelmed by the your ability to do stuff that
Well, see,
5
like,
years ago you couldn't.
I mean, I have STLs for like crazy stuff. So, like, yes, I would love to print a Stormbird, and I would love to do a Mastodon, even though you say I'm crazy for trying to do that. But like most of the stuff that I use my 3D printer for is not like full on stuff. It's for like the thing that everybody always complains about until very recently is that, close combat weapons. Nobody had them, or you had like one per whatever add-on thing. So like if I needed swords or I needed left-handed bolt pistols or whatever, I would print 180 of them, and I have a bag of them for whatever marks of armor I need. So like, yes and no. I mean, it's been very helpful when I need specific weapons and stuff like that. Or like if I'm building like a squad that really is hard to do without, like there's not a destroyer squad really at this point, like boxed or whatever. So like you can either go old Forge World stuff, which you pay out the rear for, or other means, or like I can take a base assault squad, the plastic assault squad, or a base tactical squad and print the parts out that I need to go on them.
Yeah.
My
issue is
it's a helpful tool. It's a helpful tool. I will say that. It's a very helpful tool.
My issue is that if I find something, I'll get it, and then I'll print it whether I need it or not. And a lot of things that I find.
I understand that. Generally I don't just print stuff unless I need it. Is the best way to say it.
I wish I had. I don't want to drag on about this. But I want to turn it over to the listeners. If you want us to deep dive into the sub hobby and this hobby of 3D printers, let us know, and me and Jamie could probably wax on about it for entirely too long.
Multiple shows. Yeah.
I'm just glad you didn't say deep dive into hobby backlog, because we'd be here all week.
Yeah. No. I mean, we could go very deep on this if people actually really want it. I mean, John has. We could also get like FDM people, because I don't have an FDM printer, but everybody knows some people that are very into FDM, which is like the not resin, but the spool printers that you print like bigger pieces with.
The plastic.
So I mean, if the listeners want to hear about it or have us talk about it, let us know, and we can do that on a separate show.
So anyway,
but before we get too off topic, we do have some news. What's up, Jack?
I was going to say, and John, are you ready for the news? That's all I had.
Yeah. So we actually got a Heresy Thursday this week, guys.
We did.
And Duncan, do you know what our Heresy Thursday model was?
There were actually two, although technically I think it's really just one. But
there's one moving and there's one not moving.
Yeah, there's one moving and one not. They're called Cataphractii Warsmiths for the Iron Warriors, and it was so happy.
Yes, he's
Were they always Russian?
No, they were not always Russian.
Okay, because that head looks very like World War II tanker / cosmonaut.
It does. It does look a lot like something like that. It looks a lot like a couple things. Like Tom Selleck's mustache. Tom Selleck's mustache is definitely making an appearance there, and I'm really happy with that.
Or the other guy that was in the A League, what's his name?
Ron Swanson?
Charles Bronson.
Oh, Charles Bronson, yeah. Yeah, it definitely does have a bit of a Charles Bronson look there as well. I'm not gonna really say anything other than I'm overjoyed to see it. I'm happy that it exists. I will absolutely acquire at least one, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of that.
So before we go too much on to boogieing with the model, because I like it, I think it's got a lot of cool stuff in it. So the article specifically mentions that this guy has some weapons that aren't really capable right now. He's kitted out with a Terminator's armor, even features a servo arm for repairing vehicles, a combi grav gun, and a great graviton crusher, which we have no clue what the hell that is, but it looks like a giant hammer with a gravimeter in it.
Yep.
When he comes out, he's going to get PDF rules to update the entry.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as Jamie alluded to earlier, there's two versions of this model. There's one that's kind of stoically standing, and then one that's kind of got his leg forward. And then the other one is purposely striding forward. And sadly, the one that's walking forward is going to be a Warhammer World exclusive model.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if
Wish
it's like
they'd also
legit
come out with a
world.
power armored version. That would have been nice. But it is a really cool model. I like the way that servo claw looks super industrial.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
styling
He
of the armor
definitely. He looks amazing.
and the paint job, unlike a lot of the Heresy stuff that has been a little overly cartoonish, this is downright gritty.
Yep.
I think they knocked him out of the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the model. I think it's great. I look forward to getting at least two, one to build and then one to take bits away from.
Yeah.
So you're going to redo your
That
Oh,
pretty much
Iron
says it
Army?
all. Eventually, maybe, probably not, but maybe.
I mean, the only complaints I've really heard from people is, the normal complaint is, why isn't this stuff for XYZ that has not gotten anything? Like,
Yeah.
That's your only complaint, Like,
Iron Warriors haven't had stuff in forever.
Yeah. Raven Guard too, or there's another
Yep.
one, but no, but like, so yeah, it's a really cool looking. I was really, really happy. I was surprised. I was shocked because like the week before they're like, don't expect Heresy Thursdays every week or anything, and we're like, oh well, we probably won't have anything for
A while.
and then it's like, oh, totally new model.
Yep.
And then today we got the preview for next week. Next week is not really super Heresy related, but we can kind of steal some stuff again. So they're doing kind of print to order for the old timey Space Marine Command Squad. In that box, you're going to get a Mark V and a Mark VI and a Mark IV chest. You also get access to the, what do they call these, like the company, there's a chaplain, there's what do they call them, like heroes of something or other.
Yeah.
There's a captain in Mark VI armor, there's a librarian and a chaplain that both look like they're pretty close to Mark V. Definitely some stuff to steal there, but remember these are going to be
they're print
orderable for 9 days and then not delivered for up to 180.
Yeah.
And then also the Heroes of the First Company. This is the second edition of the Japanese blind box Space Marines. So these were all Terminators. The display army was painted up as Blood Angels. They come in a bunch of different colors and everything, or a bunch of different poses and everything. There's a cyclone launcher, an assault cannon, a lightning claw, 2 thunder hammers, a flamer, and then a captain with a really cool sword, and then a huge banner guy. I got these when they were in Japan through a hookup over there. And again, these are also going to take 180 days to come out. And then on the Black Library front, Sons of the Hydra is finally starting to get its audio book. This is when I haven't read this book myself, but I've heard that it's one of the better post-Heresy, like right after the Heresy Alpha Legion books, as they start to kind of rebuild the Legion and everything that goes forward with that. And then there's, of course, because it's Alpha Legion, there's some weird shenanigans that goes on there as well. I know the secret twist at the end, I just don't want to say it. But somebody might be Alfaris.
Was it they're all dead anyway?
I was like, aren't they all Alfaris? No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're all Alfarius.
And then from the unofficial GW side, Displate came out with a whole bunch of old art that they've updated and added textures to. If anyone remembers the epic 40K Imperator versus Great Gargant, that's up as a giant Displate. I went ahead and ordered one of those for Black Friday. Got it like 30-40% off. And then a bunch of the old second edition art book or artwork. So the cover with the Blood Angel that's pointing, that one got updated. A lot of the Eldar stuff has been dropped on Displate as well. And then Joy Toy announced previews of the, try to pronounce this, Legio Custodes Aquilin Terminator Squad. So you've got one Terminator with Elastrum Stormbolter and Power Fist. You've got one Terminator with an Arthritic Destructor and Power Fist. And you've got one Terminator with Infernus Fire Pike and Lightning Claw. And then they also previewed the Legio Custodes Venatari Squad. One of them with a pistol and a knife, one of them with a pistol and a shield, and then one of them with a lance. So Custodes really haven't had any official Heresy releases for Joy Toy, so it's nice to see these starting to come out.
There was one other for Joy Toy too.
Oh, the Night re-preview?
Their Night, yeah, their Night's actually coming out finally.
Yeah, so if anyone remembers, we actually had reports from a lot of people that they had postponed them near indefinitely as they tried to figure out what's going on. So they dropped another preview video saying coming soon. Apparently they had some issues with them at toy shows tipping over because all of them have display bases on them permanently affixed to their butt. But they're just so top heavy. So it would be nice to finally see what those are going to cost, as well as the size of them. It'll probably be the size of a toddler. Although I wouldn't be surprised if someone comes up with 3D printable parts to turn them into Titans, like Reavers or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really all the news. I've checked everybody else. It seems that everything's kind of slowing down for the end of the year.
I will say that this week, well, not just this week, but starting this week, there have been a lot of Space Marine 2 video game sales. Like they've finally come down on the price a little bit for the holidays. And I saw that there was almost like a humble bundle for the PC where you could get it and 2 other games for like $20. But they don't tell you what you're getting, and I'd have to look and see what the name of the thing is. It's not Humble Bundle, it's something else. But then like PlayStation Network and Xbox have both had some decent discounts on them on the game. So if you haven't picked it up yet, like me, it's a good time to do it.
Saw that John, that was it. Army Painter Fanatics is doing apparently a John Blanche series of paints.
Yeah, so Army Painter is not only doing a series of paints that are all Blanchian inspired and grimdark, but they're also having him do kind of like the master class you can get from some of the celebrities, like talking about what they do for their. Gordon Ramsay does one, and a bunch of other famous people do one, but he's supposedly doing like a 6-part video on how he gets ideas and how he sketches them out and colors them. So that will come along with the paint sets that are coming out from John Blanche.
I know one of the colors is like a black, and it's called the Darkness, which is just a great name for a paint.
Does it believe in a thing called love?
Believe in a thing called love.
I wasn't going to try to hit those notes. I can karaoke, but I can't karaoke at that high.
Yeah, that's.
So is that the news?
That is all of our news. It's like I said, it's going a little slow right now. Yeah, that's all we got.
So that carries over to the meat and potatoes, which is turning lemons into lemonade.
I mean, kinda, yeah.
Do or do not dick kick?
Yeah,
This
kind of a good way of putting it.
this came from one of our listeners that reached out to Duncan and was asking some questions about, and correct him if I'm wrong, how to describe the type of game that you want to play. Is that kind of the base of it?
Kind of the base of it. Part of it was he was having he had encountered a not fun list, and was trying to figure out ways to play in a less unfun way and encourage others to do so, specifically whoever he was playing against. And I think the big thing he was trying to figure out was we got to talking about lists and list construction and list theories and how you make or how I personally have things work, and the way I build lists. And that was kind of the way the topic went. And it became, how do you build lists to not be kind of a dick kick when you're just playing a casual friendly game? Or how do you build lists that, yeah, they're thematic and fun, but they're designed to be fun for both parties and not designed to be something to where someone can end up walking away from the table not feeling the best. So I straight up told him, hey, look, this is kind of how uh, this is how I kind of build lists. And then I told him about my Oops All Assault Cannon list. And then there's the Oops All Rampager list. And then I told him about how of the major lists that I've built and constructed over second edition, and I've built just towards doing that, the most balance of my list is, and I think the most fun to play and play against is my Sons of Horus list, and I explained that to him. And it kind of became a, how do you play and build to not be, like I said, not be a dick kick list. And for me, I know I've built a lot of lists for a lot of people over the past while since we've been doing this, and I've made a lot of suggestions on lists. And for me, it's kind of personally, I like kind of building to a theme for a list.
Yeah.
I get kind of an idea behind it, and then I see what kind of fits into that idea.
We've had multiple discussions about me and you, at least.
Yes, we have.
Themed list from like books that you've
Yep.
read and like ideas what you could do that would still fit those themes.
Yep. That's definitely been a big thing, is finding stuff that fits to me in the actual books or takes place in some of the heresy, not just the novels, but like the black books in the background. So yeah, how do you all choose to build lists the way you do?
I have a different way of building lists, and that they all suck. So I'll start with that.
Okay.
What I like to do is,
say we had a conversation before we started recording.
yeah, we kind of had a jokey conversation, because it does seem that every time I build an army, is like, wow, John, could you have made a shittier list? But when I build things, I usually gravitate not just to the fluff, but also like 2 or 3 models that I really like.
Yeah.
And then take as many of those as I possibly can.
Spam it.
Yeah. What's funny is, like, it looks super intimidating 90% of the time. It just never seems to win any games. So when I started out in 1.0, I had just read the Market Calf book. And so, the whole big push towards the guns, where they swooped up all the different Ultramarines armor and everything and pushed on towards the taking of the orbital guns, the orbital gun uplink and everything. I built all the Predators and Vindicators and everything to build that list. When it came to 2.0, I swapped out a lot of the Vindicators and took more Sakarans. Then when I built my first 2.0 list from scratch, it was obviously all the jet bikes and just kind of spamming that more or less, but I still wanted to keep the idea of an all fast force. I didn't want anything on foot. I wanted everything to be jet bikes and javelins and everything like that. The Cobra stuff, obviously I wanted to build around Cobra, so I needed something that was more themed towards that. I saw a lot of the Cobra stuff was gun emplacements, artillery, along with giant waves of troops, which worked really well for 1.0, not so well for 2.0. And then in 2.0, I kind of changed it up to say, okay, well, if I can take Sentinels as these Hiss tanks, trying that out. And that's kind of where I've got it to now. Now what I'm doing is more trying to see where in those that I can fill in stuff. So for the Cobra stuff, I've started looking at what in the rest of the list is good or that I haven't touched yet. So I've talked about Jamie helped print me some Charonite Ogrins that I'm going to be building. In fact, the base has actually just arrived this week that I ordered from Dragonforge. And then for Ultramarines, I've got all that other stuff that I've been painting. And then for Jack and I've kind of taught custodes, making those something that's not going to be super dick kicky by taking a lot of their big transport, which is going to eat up more than half the points, and making the army actually worse by making it slower. So that's kind of my thing. Is I tend towards a couple of models or a couple things that grab my attention and just build as many of those or as much of that as I can.
Okay.
When I'm taking out Ultramarines because Ultramarines is just a way of life. Whenever I'm starting a new army list, there is some type of want in the basis of it. I want to make Iron Circle. I want to play Iron Circle with Alpha Legion. I want to make a very, very easy Death Guard list to play that is like really small that I can travel with really, really well. I want to, with both of those, it was Alpha Legion. Also with that, just came from a Matt Kane's class, so I was really jazzed on painting. Before that, the Death Guard army was, I need to learn how to weather if I'm going to up my painting game. With the World Eater army I have, I want to paint white. I want to get good at painting white. With the Imperial Fist list that I did, I want to get good at painting red. I'm not red, yellow. There's not necessarily ever like a thought behind I want to do this army because of lore reasons or strength of units reason. It's more of an exercise of making my hobbying better by forcing me to do something a lot, and then figuring out a way with those guide rails of making a list that works. Like I said, Death Guard was weathering. That's also where I, started resin pouring was with Death Guard. Alpha Legion was, using Tamiya's and putting all the stuff that Matt Kane taught me. Now I think that's part of the reason why I haven't really done a lot in 2.0 is because there's stuff that I want to do, but I don't want to do a lot of it because of time constraints. Now, if we sprinkle in Ultramarines into that, it's what do I feel like playing today? What units do I have available to me that are fun for me and my opponent to play? Like everybody loves beating on Ultramarines, and they beat back. So I'm going to take some suzerains, and I know for a little bit I'm going to give as good as I can get. But I only take one unit of those. So I self-regulate to make sure that at this point in my life, myself and the person across the table is having the most fun as possible, and at least to best of my ability to make sure they're having fun.
Okay.
So I guess you'd say I have like two different ways of building lists.
Okay.
So I have lists that are for me, okay? And then I have the list that I do for like Toys for Tots. And for the list for me, it's usually something like I will usually I'll stick with something from the fluff, kind of like Duncan does, and try to build it out from there. But when I do that, I'm also looking at maybe like some sort of skill that from my hobbying that I need to improve, and I'll focus on units or color palettes, or that will force me to utilize that skill more, if that makes any sense. I know it doesn't really help with like building the army out play wise, but for me it helps improve my hobbying skills, so to say. But generally it's all based in fluff. Like I'll take something from excerpts or like a battle report or something like that I've found that I like or brought special attention to me and for some reason, and I'll build out. I'll start with kind of a core list to get my scoring in, and then kind of spiral out from there to try and hit as many different as many different options as I can from there. Not like just loading up on like one particular unit. Not to say that I haven't done that before. I mean, I have. The other way I build lists is for like Toys for Tots. In the past, what I've done is I've kind of looked at fluff for each individual army, and I will take that into consideration with different styles of army. So like instead of, and I also like will say, okay, like I have a core army that I can build out of, which would be like I used to be like I would build off of like one of the Battle for Calth boxes or Prospero boxes, where you get you have so many units from that box, and then you can add other units in. Since 2.0 came out, I don't really do that anymore. But like with the TOTS armies, what I've been doing is I'll pick, say like with the Word Bearers. I've done pretty much every army other than like I think there's only 3 that I've not built or painted yet for TOTS at this point. And so I've been trying to pick armies that I have not really flushed out, or like you don't see very often on the table. May it be like just because people don't like playing them, or they're just too expensive to do. So like with the Word Bearers, it was a combination of not having seen a whole lot of demon armies and drop pods. So you don't very often see drop pod armies at all, and that's why I picked that. For the White Scars that I'm working on right now, the request that we got was that people want bikes and jet bikes. And I'm like, bikes and jet bikes are very expensive. So it's taken a while to get that army together, but there's a lot of jet bikes in it. You'll be happy when it's available for everybody to see. But it's the same. Yeah, I'll pick something like a different style army that maybe like one of the play styles from like the rule book, where you have like a special army, like what do you call it? Like a right of war that limits that army a lot, but you don't see it because it's so limiting. I may do that just because you just don't see it, and it gives me a different excuse to get different models instead of just all tactical marines and dreadnoughts or something like that, or like do an armored company or something like that. Well, you see that a lot. A lot of people do those now, but something along that lines. Keep it to the fluff. Add in fluffy units, and then get my scoring units in, and then build out along the lines to make it fit that fluff piece, or like that army style that has not really been used a whole lot. Does that make sense?
Mm.
You don't.
Yeah, it does make sense, honestly.
I mean, I'm generally, and I've had people tell me this. I mean, like, I'm not a hardcore gamer by any means. I'm more on the hobby side of it, kind of, and I game when I can, and I, will build lists for when we do list building competitions, or here on the show, or like if people ask for help, I'll help them out with what I think. And I'm not trying to go like, 800-pound gorilla in a boxing ring with you, like style list, like smash and beat them up. I try to usually go what I think is a balanced list that you can build off of. And I've had people come back to me and say, hey, I used your list you put on the show or whatever, and it turned out awesome, both, build wise and like play wise. And I'm like, well, that's great to hear. I'm happy that you thought it did very well, because like I had no clue how well it would play. It just seemed like it was a cool and fluffy army that I was trying to build up. So, and that's what like we were talking about before the show. John builds super fluffy lists that are usually really bad. No offense to John. Duncan usually builds the blood for the blood god. I'm up in your face as fast as I can get in your face and chop your head off style list, which can be very nasty, or they can be tame. And I'm kind of like the idiot savant that like really I'm just trying to have fun and do something that's kind of fluffy or whatever, and they end up turning out pretty well. I'm not saying I'm a be-all, end-all of any list builder, because a lot of times I will go to Duncan, or I will go to like Blake here in Alabama, who Blake and Christopher both build very, very strong lists for like organized play, and I'll get feedback from them too, and Duncan, and like just what they think about my list, to see if there's something I'm really missing or something I'm really overlooking. So yeah.
One I think of the big things is, and this may sound a little kind of, I don't mean this to sound dickish or anything like that. So please, I hope no one out there ever takes it this way. But one of the big things for me isn't just how you build the list, because you can build the list to be as hard as possible, and then you can play it. You can play the list to be. Play style can be the big drawback on how you play it. If you're not playing as hard and as fast and as for my example, if you're not playing one of the lists that I typically would play as hard and as fast in your face with somebody else as possible, and getting into position to make charges, to get there and put pressure where you need to counteract their big heavy hitters with your own. If you don't put that pressure on there and you just play like, oh, my big nasty thing is going to go over here and eat this tactical squad today, la la la. I mean, even if you play it or build a punchy as all get out list, or a shooty as all get out list, if you just play it light and easy, even that nasty horrible list that you can turn to 11 or even more can be an easy game to play, can be a friendly game, can be a fun game. And conversely, if you're playing where you have a friendly, fun list, or you have a dick kicker list as it is, and someone out there has a friendly, fun list, and they are playing friendly and fun, just tone down your own actions, your own reactions, and your own choices on how you would act in the game to make it punch below its weight class, if that makes sense.
Also, if your dice give you up, it doesn't matter how good a player you are. I mean,
now
like,
that
if
one's
you're rolling bad, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, that's true. If your dice are cursing you, best of luck, because we've all been there.
Yep.
We truly have. And I'm not saying that you should build a dick kicker list and then tone it down, although some people will do that and will tune it up or down depending on how they play it. And some people can do that even with what most would consider to be a fluffy list. But I think the easiest way of saying how to make a friendly list is to kind of base it on something in the fluff, and then aim for fun and try to build for fun while throwing a couple things that can be a hard counter if you need them. But build for something that fits with the fluff, with the Legion or the Aux group you're in or playing or what have you. So I think that's kind of about how to do it, or how I would choose then to do it.
There's a couple things that we didn't mention. We didn't mention like what specific unit would make the dicker kickery.
Yeah.
For the most part, I mean, obviously, Fury of the Ancients is the big one that everyone knows. Is usually, if you're taking, I usually say like a dreadnought per 1,000 points.
It elicits groans when people say, "Oh, I have a Furies of the Ancient list." You're just like, "Oh."
Yeah, now that's one that can be a bastard to play.
Yeah.
But it can also get toned down.
Right.
But
No, because like you have Nick that's up there at the Battle Barn that you play frequently, and he for a long time has played a Furies of the Ancient list, but he has kind of made it a challenge to himself to make it not as dick kickery.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a word, but not as nasty. How about that? It's still a hard list to play against, but it's not like just as bad as it is currently.
yeah. And playing restrictions that are pretty much community liked, which is like the universal 1 dread per 1,000 points. Yep, makes perfect sense. I think we can all agree that one makes sense and is fun and makes games a lot less troublesome.
The other unit that's kind of nasty is usually the 10 last cannon.
God,
team,
yes.
Or
If you're gonna,
multiples of said 10 last cannon team.
yeah, if you're gonna throw a 10 last cannon team or 10-man last cannon team into your list, sure. It's so common out there that there's telling people not to use it is going to be falling on deaf ears. But if you are going to use it, try to restrict yourself to only one of them. Because if you have, like so many people will spam multiples of that, that can just lead to an oppressive level of firepower that's not fun for your opponent to play against.
Especially if they're like Sun Killer or what is it, Star Killers?
Sun Killers.
Sun Killers.
Yeah.
They're bad. Just the regular ones are bad enough. But yeah, if you have somebody spamming like 3 of those units, that's just not going to be fun.
Nope, I agree. Or if you're Iron Warriors and you're playing 3 Iron Havoc squads with last cannons backed up by whatever else, that can just be an unpleasant thing to encounter. I think a lot of it isn't just how you build the list, but the mentality as you're building it. If you're sitting there going, "Oh man, this is so great. This is so great. I can do this, and it synergizes well with this, and it works well with that, and then I can do this, and then nothing can stand before me." Yeah, cool. Yep, that's definitely a thing you can do. That's not the mentality I personally suggest for playing Heresy, but it is a way you can do things. Personally, I have fallen into that trap multiple times, and I just try to suggest people avoid it. I think one way with Marines that you can kind of limit yourself or limit the way you are playing with what you have is taking things that you normally would not contemplate taking.
Yeah.
That you don't really use that often, and trying then to make them function in ways that, or taking things you normally take, but taking them in ways that they don't normally function, or taking things you don't take ever and then just trying to play with them and have fun. So
the one suggestion I would have is that if you're building out a list and it's kind of a, like one of these brutal type lists, before you add that second unit of 10-man las, pick something else from a different, force org slot that you normally wouldn't use, like something recon-y or, scouty or something like that, or something fast attack. Before you add that. Say that again?
Shakaran Punisher.
Shakaran Punisher.
Yeah.
Add a unit that you normally wouldn't take before you add that second 10-man lad squad or another dreadnought or contemptor dreadnought.
Yep,
to
that's
kind of balance out the ass kickery.
That is kind of a good way of putting it. Not just the balancing out, but seeing what else you can play that's available.
Exactly.
I will say a Shakaran Punisher is great fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Shots, man. That's a lot of shots.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing.
I know it's a dreadnought, but it's a dreadnought you don't see a whole lot of, is the the Doritos or Dorito, whatever you want to call it. I had a lot of fun when I used mine with autocannons. Like, I mean,
Ooh. So I really like Doritos. Huge fan of them. No matter what army you throw them in, I think Doritos are great. And I think that if you use them the way they're supposed to be used, they can be great fun. But you can also use them in a way that can be contributing to that oppression.
Yeah.
And that is kind of a thing.
Yep.
Everything can be oppressive if you make it unfunny to play. So I think the best way of putting it is just try not to be a dick when you're playing the game.
That's the primary rule, I thought. Well, other than having fun, try not to be a dick.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I kind of build my list towards for the most part. I mean, like my World Leaders list, it's got a giant glaring problem. It has zero ability to score. It can do all kinds of things. It can eat your army in close combat really quick. But I can't score a single objective ever. So if you can score one, congratulations, you've won the game. You might not have much left on the table. I certainly won't have much left on the table, but it's just kind of a thing. So maybe if you are building a dick kicker list, maybe build in weaknesses that you know, just so they're less stressful for your opponent.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. So
Yeah, and with my list, it originally started out that I noticed that I didn't really build it in there, but I noticed as the games were going on that there were certain huge glaring weaknesses in the list. And so instead of trying to fix those, I just was like, whatever. I'll play around it. And
Well,
then,
I mean, I've watched John play just because I like watching John play at big events because he brings these crazy armies. And he has a lot of fun playing them, even though, like, there are obvious glaring, deficiencies with said army, but like the way he plays them, he's usually almost always having fun playing them. I don't know if everybody has fun playing against them. Generally, most people seem like they do. I will say that. But like him and Ned, example, both of them playing Solar Auxilia, or was it Milita you were both playing, John?
it was Solar
Ox. So like, yeah, literally throwing handfuls of dice with artillery templates flying like crazy that whole game, and like, this many people die, like handfuls.
I think we killed like 100 models in the first turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just insane.
It was, yeah. I mean, now we're like another one the year before, John playing his tank was armored breakthrough list against was it not Zach, but Josh is was it Milita list, Chaos Milita list, the Warhound, and people were like, oh my god, it's a Warhound, and John's like, I mean, like, that was a fun game. Like, you all had an absolute freaking blast in that game.
Yeah. When I say 90% of the time my army doesn't work, it's not saying like, oh, I can't win games or I think they're terrible. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I usually end up noticing, like, after I'm done building, like, wow, I could probably take out half of whatever gimmick I'm trying to do and make it better by taking X overpowered unit.
Right.
But because I don't want to do that, I'm going to keep going down the subpar lane, and I'm just going to have fun doing it.
Yep.
I mean, that is kind of the point. If you found something that you're enjoying in the game, you rock out with it. You continue on with it. You have fun with it. That's the important part. And if you're not enjoying it, find a way to change that. And if your opponent is the cause of you not enjoying your games, maybe not only changing the way you're building your list, and the way you're playing your list is the issue. But maybe you should talk to your opponent if they're a regular person you're playing against. Say, hey, games are fun, but this is not working for me because of X or because of Y.
May I offer a counter suggestion?
Yes, of course you may offer a counter.
Flip the table.
Yeah, I mean, if you're having one of those days and you're having one of those games where your opponent is absolutely someone who you feel you need to flip the table on, I mean, obviously most of your stuff will be off the table, so it won't get hurt when you flip it. But
Exactly.
have at it, man. Have at it.
Does that cover about everything?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I reckon it do.
What else we
Yeah.
got?
Well, let's see here.
Did
We've
I
only
read-
got.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think we've only got three more Sundays to record on until the end of the year.
So I will go ahead and re-announce our 2-week hobby challenge contest that we have going on in the Discord. So as we're recording right now, all of the submissions should have been implemented for people that wanted to do the 2-week hobby challenge. The cutoff was December 7th, and so right now they have one more week to go ahead and try to get everything finished up, and then submitted pictures with the name of their Discord name, the date, and then the special word that we chose. I will admit that Danny had, since I went ahead and watched all 7 hours of the Dab War again, it kind of changed what I wanted to use for the magic word there. But
Was it PO? Did you want to use the word PO?
no, I used Huron. I might use PO next time.
Okay.
Did I read correctly in another group that we're 107 sleeps away from the Adepticon?
Yep. That's that's about where we are. 107 sleeps away.
Oh my.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. So I hope everybody's remembering out there that if you're planning on going to Adepticon and playing in one of the bar events or in one of the events that is run by our friends over with Ferrix, I hope whatever you're working on is ready or is getting ready and will be ready. And if it's not ready, hey, we've got our wonderful hobby hangouts that we do every Wednesday that we're happy to have you come and join, sit there and talk with us while we're hobbying ourselves.
You can stop by and listen to Gabe's list of "That's really nasty but sounds fun."
Yep.
Duncan's list of "That sounds really nasty but sounds fun."
Yep.
Brian
Or
singing to you.
weird. Yeah, I was about to say the weird songs that Brian comes up with every week.
Yeah.
Show tunes, yes.
Yep.
That's a word
Just
for
come
it.
on out and hang out. It's one thing we've all really been enjoying is the whole community hangout. Everyone just kind of
Even if
hanging
it's
around, working on stuff.
even if you're not, yeah, like you may not even be working on models. Like some of the guys are playing video games or just doing something else just to be interacting with everybody. It's still fun, a fun time.
Yep. You don't even have to be playing anything. You can literally be working on whatever or just sitting there hanging out. Heck, you can be sitting there hanging out playing a video game while we're literally just talking around you with you, and you can just share in the community entertainment of having friends.
Yeah, sit there,
Yeah,
talk, hang out
Detroit
with
Brian
people.
one time was doing he was running errands. I think
Yep.
he was on our call.
They're like going in
Getting
there
Taco Bell or something.
run it drive through and stuff like that.
Yep.
Sit there, talk to people, and work on your TPS reports.
Yep. I mean, do whatever you want to do. Just come hang out. I promise you'll have fun.
Well, I think that nails it on that hits the nail on the head.
Yeah, I think that about sums it up for us. Oh, actually, hold on. There is one more thing I need to announce.
Uh-oh.
Give me just a moment.
Uh-oh.
I have to open this up.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Yep. There it is. So, this is the part where I talk about something that someone talked about with me and discussed with me yesterday. And by yesterday, I mean Saturday here at our local game store at the Rusty Scabbard when I went over there. So, June 22nd and 23rd, there's going to be a hobby a gaming event / 40K thing here in Lexington. And they reached out to me and would like us to assist in putting on a Heresy 2-day event on June 22nd and June 23rd of 2025 in Lexington, Kentucky. I don't know much beyond that, but they have the dates locked in, as in they've put a deposit down, and they're going to be supplying tables. There will be food provided. I think I'm not certain 100% on the cost or anything yet, but there is 100% going to be a Horus Heresy event, June 22nd and 23rd in Lexington, Kentucky in 2025.
So Sunday and Monday?
See, that's what I was very curious about, because I brought up the dates being odd too. I think what they mean is
21st
somewhere between I think what they mean is the 21st and 2nd. But the message that I received says June 22nd and 23rd.
Okay, then.
Yeah. So for any of the listeners who are in the Kentucky area, hey, there's going to be this going on. Put it on your calendars. As soon as I get more details worked out with them and have more information, I will happily share it. But apparently it is set in stone and it is going to happen with us or without us. So there we go.
I can almost 95% guarantee that I will be there for that because it being in my backyard, I have no excuse.
Yep, that's kind of the way I thought too.
I heard from I talked to Blake a little bit this week, and their event in January is totally sold out. So
remember what I said. Just storm the doors. They can't stop all of you.
Anyway, is that about summing it all up for us tonight, gentlemen?
Yep. Duncan, you want to tell John to take us out of here?
Hey, Jamie, tell John to take us out of here.
Hey, John, take us out of here.
Jamie, tell Duncan to tell Jack I got it. So thanks everybody for joining us on this 106th episode of the Heresy Accountability Buddies Podcast. Tonight I've been John and I've been joined by
Duncan.
Jack.
And Jamie.
And always remember to stay accountable to yourself, to your buddies, and to your hobby. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Oh, my goodness.
There you go.
Like and subscribe and see ya.